All right, again, I'm going to talk about how I practice, because to me, catching fish is one of the easiest things to do, but finding them seems to be the hard part. And the whole strategy behind tournament fishing, especially like we do where we're traveling, you've got limited practice days, 3 days of practice. You've got to be able to figure out something quickly and kind of get the ball rolling, and you don't really have time to expand. I mean, say if you figure out how to get a few bites, say on a jig under docks or something like that, you don't have time in those 3 days to sample every area of the lake. So you've got to be able to break down what type of docks those fish are on, what type of structure they're on, how deep, how shallow. You've got to do all this in a limited amount of time. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk to you about. But we'll get started. I think we got to me, the first thing I'm going to do when I prepare for a tournament is I start a week ahead of time if I've got the time available, and I'll actually get a notepad down and I'll write down every lure I want to tie on, what pound test line I'm going to tie it on, and just go ahead and start getting mentally prepared for how I want to rig up for a specific tournament. And you can see this is a picture of my deck. This was actually from Lake Guntersville Tour tournament we had in June, and you can see I've got 25 rods strapped down on the front of the deck. And the first thing I do when I get my new Ranger boat is I take a screwdriver and I unscrew the latch that straps your rods down, and I move it over about 3 inches so I can fit more rods on each side. And that's specifically for practice, because I don't want to have to waste time in practice. Say I'm fishing shallow in practice and I'll across a hump mark some fish. I don't want to waste time digging in the rod box, digging another rod out, tying another crankbait on or something like that, and getting ready to make 5 or 6 casts. Then it's going to take 20 minutes to get ready to make 2 minutes worth of casts. I don't want to waste that much time in practice. That's what I like to do. When I get to a lake, I'm going to research it. I'm going to figure out what everybody does, like what's the local deals, like say Guntersville, for example, or Rayburn in the spring, everybody's throwing a red rattle trap. So I'm going to find out that stuff just researching on the internet, and then my first 2 days of practice is going to be doing the exact opposite of that, because those fish see that all the time, 365 days a year. They're seeing those same baits. So you've got to get in a mind frame that you've got to figure out a better way. There's always a better way to fish. It doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing. I mean, if it's your local lake and you win every tournament, there's always a better way. I mean, if you're catching 3-pounders on every cast, somewhere on something else you can catch 4-pounders every cast. Once you find that, there's got to be a way to catch 5-pounders every cast. So you just keep going with that attitude that, you know, this is not going to be good enough. Now I know how to do this, I need to learn how to do this. And it's hard to do that, especially when, I mean, if y'all are like me, I like catching fish, and when I find them, I want to sit there and catch them. But you've got to train yourself to, all right, I know where these are, I need to leave them alone, go over here and hunt for something else. But always keep in your mind that there's a group of fish that are doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. Like history tells us in the pre-spawn, fish are going to be shallow. If it's a grass lake, they're going to be on shallow grass flats and stuff like that, or shallow rocks or something, staging up to spawn. But there's always a group of fish that's doing something that's totally off the wall. And that's I call them the needle in the haystack fish, because when you find those are winning fish. As good as graphs are now, and as good as people are with their electronics, a lot of times I will look the obvious stuff like the ledges on Kentucky Lake, but then I also spend a lot of time, I will zoom that graph out and see where the contour lines flatten out, where there's no contour lines, and that's the places I'll go look. I'll go look like the worst looking place on the lake for a ledge fish or something like that. That's where I'll specifically go look, because I know my competition is, they're going to look at it and they're going to be like, oh, that looks like awful, I'm not going over there. So I'll try to find those fish that aren't pressured and other people are going to overlook. And even like the shallow fish on a ledge. Do all y'all fish like the Kentucky and Barkley lakes a fair amount? Or anyway, but with the side imaging, the way I have it set up where I can see the 400 feet each way, a lot of people say you can't see fish on the shallow ledges.
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Glusek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. From on the water to in the classroom, you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills. Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best. Subscribe to Bass University TV today.